up facades that aren't true. And then we can never live up to them. It's not something I think I do. I think I am quite open, although possibly not with my neighbours. We can create an image that isn't the way it really is. Yes, I do know people that do that, so maybe states do as well.
North Korea will not find security and respect through threats and illegal weapons.
No one goes into North Korea, no one goes out of North Korea. It's a bit like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, I suppose.
The levels of secrecy and non-communication that seem to suit the North Koreans, it's perfect here.
It is quite a nice part of Ealing, I'd say. Quite quiet. I don't know the neighbours. Not by name, but I'd smile and nod. Well, I first became aware of the North Korean embassy on the day that it opened. We'd been very aware that the house was being done up before, but it was a complete surprise when it turned out to be the North Korean embassy. And on the first day, they had the flag flying. You can see it against the sky, but it's not flying very often. I think I've only seen it fly about 3 times. The flag, when it's flying, is lovely. It's special days, I think, in their calendar. And it's a really bright, sort of almost crimson red and a really bright blue. Very jolly, very lovely. Lifts the spirits.
The United Nations Security Council is to meet in emergency session as the international community assesses how to respond to North Korea's latest nuclear test. The move has drawn widespread condemnation. President Obama has accused the regime of recklessly challenging the international community. Gordon Brown said it was a danger to the world.
I know the embassy is the country, but I don't see it as the country. When I pass, I just see it as another house on the street. Maybe the North Korean wanted to be here, but not here. And in that location, I think they've achieved that.
No one has yet come to me to complain about nuclear proliferation. And if they did, then I'd have to say that, as flattered as I am, really, it's their Member of Parliament they should take it to. Well, embassies in Britain are usually located near St James's Palace. The embassy for America is close to Tottenham Court Road. For Germany it is Hyde Park Corner. For the French it is close to Knightsbridge. And for Albania, I suppose a country not entirely dissimilar to North Korea until fairly recently, even Albania has an embassy in Victoria. But the North Korean embassy, in fact, is some way away, all along the district line to here. Ealing is traditionally known as the Queen of the Suburbs because I think the housing which was built here was of a superior quality for the time. It was a very leafy area where the well-to-do of the Victorian and Edwardian period would live to escape the horrors of central London. Embassies are traditionally located next to the palace where the monarch lives, which was historically St James's Palace, and Ealing has been traditionally known as the Queen of the Suburbs. I can only imagine that when the North Koreans chose Ealing for the site for their embassy, they somehow perhaps thought that Her Majesty herself lived nearby, but I'm sure now they've been disabused of that. Most people wouldn't get out here or get in here. Most people would pass through Ealing Common. Here, I suppose the North Korean ambassador would have to get the Central Line or whatever into District Line into central London. Could drive, but driving into London from here isn't the easiest task.
I travel to places that not many other people really want to go. The standout trip so far, in terms of being like nowhere else on the planet, is North Korea, by far. I mean, it's just like nothing else I've ever experienced. You know, I've been to Iraq under Saddam, and people aren't allowed to show any sort of dissent, but privately, you understand how they really feel. In North Korea, there's no sense of that whatsoever. You really feel like everybody you speak to and meet is utterly convinced that the great and dear leaders are, you know, almost gods. I think without a doubt it's the most secretive nation in the world. I've been to 4 or 5 dictatorships that are nowhere near as secretive as North Korea.
Around here, people don't really know each other. They very much keep themselves to themselves. It's very much, you know, we'll ignore the rest of the world.
If it's easy to get into the embassy here in Ealing, then it couldn't be more different from the DMZ. I mean, it's called the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. It's the most heavily militarized piece of earth on the planet, in terms of mines, in terms of soldiers, and it's still very tense there.
한 차례의 지하 핵시험을 성과적으로 진행.
The announcement was made by North Korea's government-controlled media.
자위적 해국 재력을 백방으로 강화하기 위한 조치에 일한.
In defence of socialism and the nation, the newsreader said the country had carried out its second-ever atomic test.
There is a basketball hoop in there. It makes them a bit human, doesn't it?
What I would say is if they've got a basketball hoop in the back garden, don't expect to see 3 or 4 kids playing around trying to get baskets. Expect to see 4 or 5 guys taking it deadly seriously, warming up, matching tracksuits. You know, it will be a military operation playing basketball in the back garden. I mean, sport is a slightly more civilised form of warfare, I think, to the North Koreans. I know a guy who was Daniel Ortega's bodyguard, and the Sandinistas went on sort of a socialist world tour after they won power in Nicaragua, and they were shown around North Korea. And Kim Il-sung at the time had a large growth in the back of his neck. And this is them talking to guys one-on-one. You know, these are bodyguards talking to bodyguards. This isn't propaganda. He said, you know, is he sick? Is that a cancerous growth on the back of his neck? He said, no. He spends so much time thinking that he's growing a second brain.
I'm amazed that they believe in something that is so obviously ridiculous. But then I'm not amazed because we've all got some amazing half-truths that we can believe.
Russia estimates that the underground explosion was as powerful as the bomb dropped on Nagasaki in Japan in 1945.
The blast is said to have made the ground tremble as far away as the Chinese border.
North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs pose a grave threat.
What wouldn't I like there? A prison. I'm not very fond of cats. A cat's home. People who looked after their front garden as badly as we do. I think our neighbours are a lot, especially one of our neighbours. I'd be much happier to see her move than the North Korean embassy move. No, in life you have to give everybody a chance, don't you?